So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here. And I have designed a new series of webinars that rather than using yoga, using this, using anything else apart from you, I am going to teach you how to use yourself as medicine. So I really welcome you all here and then thank you for your presence here. And we will start with understanding what we are. This is going to be a manual to get to know yourself. The intention here to make you equipped with the necessary stuff so you can navigate your own life with nothing but your own wisdom and your own inner guidance. So you getting to know yourself is nothing apart from you getting to know the entire universe, your own world and your own reality that is around you. And after getting to know yourself with enough tools, we'll get to, over the weeks, explore different sensations and different expressions of love. So basically here I would like to draw a parallel between love and light. Love is not visible, or light itself is not visible unless it hits an object. So when light hits an object and gets reflected, it breaks into a spectrum of colors. And then rather than seeing light, we see colors from, let's say, from the purple to the bottom of the spectrum, which is red. We just see different sensations or different experiences of light. And the same way with love, most people tend to think that love and the opposite version of love or the opposite side of love is hate. But I seem to be not agreeing with that point, because there is no opposite of love. Love itself is unity. Love itself is the point of connection. Love itself is everything. And when love breaks into this experience that we live, it just can turn out to be as joy. But even hatred can be in a way explained by the presence or absence of love. So love does not have an opposite side. It is the unity, it's the oneness. And once you get to know yourself and understand how love presents itself in all different forms and shapes, then the final point will be a little bit more manageable to do, which is living with ease, finding purpose, finding clarity, and finding integrity in your day-to-day life. So basically, let's do a quick overview over the weeks. I have 4 recurring topics over the month, and as long as we will go all the Tuesdays, I'll be repeating these topics. For example, the first week's main quality is curiosity, which will come up again on the 5th week, and then on the 9th week, and so on. All weeks will be creating a base for the following week and reinforcing the teachings of the earlier weeks. And as this is the first week and we are starting very slow and very simple, so my general tendency is to give up all the information all at once, which kind of I find ends up confusing rather than helping the people. So I am going to put on the brakes here. And in order to give you a more coherent and more comprehensive experience, we will try to take things very slow and very simple. So the first week is all about cultivating the witness consciousness. And the main theme of the week is curiosity to increase awareness. Awareness is really the key to accomplish anything in our life. Because if you don't know something, you can't do anything positive about it to change it either. So first, becoming aware. For example, in the 5th week, we will use the quality of curiosity to manage stress and anxiety situations. Moving on to the second week. Second week is all about getting to know your sensations and how to learn from your sensations. It's all about learning from the senses and how to use these senses as a guide to maneuver your day-to-day life, as well as the big decisions in life. Here on the second weeks or the 6th weeks and so on, we will focus on the quality of non-judgment. Judgments basically are, in this context, are reflexive products of your mind. So it is an endeavor with your mind to label something or name something without paying keen attention or care to the essence or the intrinsic value of the subject that the matter has. So by adopting a non-judgmental attitude, one can create a safe environment for themselves as well as for those around them for a productive exploration. And after we understand how to get to know the sensations and learn from them, the third weeks will be a little bit more challenging, or I don't want to put it out there as challenging, but it's going to be the topics that is going to stretch your comfort zone. We will be going through the things all about how to stretch the zone, and we will deal with relatively uncomfortable topics, or uncomfortable, let's say, to the thinking mind. And what better way to do this uncomfortable situations, to handle these situations, better than using compassion? So compassion will be our main theme going through the third weeks to maneuver these areas of our life, and it will be our compass. We will open up topics like fear or vulnerabilities or insecurities under the umbrella of compression, and see what we can best to do with those. And the fourth weeks, which is very essential but not very relevant to the first three, is going to be all about functional alignment and physical integrity. What we are going to do is we will go through the body parts and how to best use them outside of yoga classes. Actually, you do yoga a few hours a week, but the rest of your time is spent sitting, walking, and going about your daily life. So what do you do in those times? How do you stand? How you sit? And how to use your body in the most effective way? We will cover the lower extremities and the hips on the fourth week. We'll go through the upper extremities, arms, shoulders, and the neck on the eighth week. And if we go along, or as we go along, we will dive into the core and the spinal alignment on the 12th week. How does that sound so far? Very nice. Let's go into what is consciousness. If you Google it, the most basic description of consciousness is sentience or awareness of internal and external existence. How does that sound? I think it's already giving some kind of an idea. The definition is actually somehow biased, according to what I think, or leading in a way that implies that there's a difference between the internal and the external existence, which is true from one aspect and which can be challenged from another aspect. And here I'm going to say, what if there are great parallels between these two internal and external environments? What if they are replicas of each other? Or what if they are reflections or mirrors of one another, according to the perception of the self? Things to think about. Let's move a little bit more deeper into the definition. It says it's a state of wakefulness. But are you not aware, or are you not conscious when you are asleep? How do you know whether you slept okay or whether you had a dream or not? I mean, to me, it sounds like there is more to the consciousness than just being awake. Looking at the etymology of the word, it's conscio from the Latin, which means con together, scio to know. And if I'm butchering the Latin pronunciation, please excuse my language. But let's look at this. So by becoming conscious, it has something to do with being united or knowing together. It is something that already exists out there and we experience it. And in a way, we are part of it. So in order for us to experience consciousness, we actually have a great instrument that's called the mind. Well, let me revert that. So when we talk about the mind, we have to maybe make a little note about the mind and the brain. The mind is not the brain. I mean, it's included in the brain. It includes the brain, but it is not limited to brain. We can talk about brain forever as well, but maybe it's for another time. But to put this in an example, imagine a publishing house or a broadcasting company. Where the company is located is the brain, whereas what the company does is the mind. Is that relatively clear? Does it make a little bit sense? And let's go a little bit further. And I want to put it out there that as great as the mind is, it doesn't have all the answers. Let me put this quote here that I wrote. To put it in other words, the mind is like a decoder or a simplifier of the entire consciousness of the universe in a way that is relatable to you. It doesn't necessarily make you see things as they are, but rather it makes you see things in a way so you can understand them, so you can relate to them. Take a note here. This is a blessing and a curse situation. It simplifies and makes things similar to what you already know. So in a way, it shows things to you as you know. So it shows the things to you as you have been conditioned by your own past environment up to this point. This is very tricky here. But let's dive a little bit deeper into the mind. The mind has three qualities. One is the execution, where all we function, all or where we all try to function most of the time. The other part of the mind is sensation, where we all experience our attachments and avoidances. And the final part of the mind is the witnessing, what we all innately have and what we all innately are, but we don't really pay much attention to. Let's detail the execution a little bit more. Execution is all this stuff. You're thinking, you're comparing, cognition, perception, planning, projecting, identification, patterning, duality, this or that, black or white, or separation, you and I. Any kind of these is the part of your brain that belongs to the execution part, which according to the evolutional layer, which is the top part, and which includes but not limited to your prefrontal cortex. And the second part is the sensation. And when we dive into the sensations, these are basically feelings that you experience or sense in your body. What about emotions? Emotions are basically commonly identified sensations. So when I say identified here, you can feel the touch of the executive function, because as you identify a sensation and you call it something, let's say happiness or sadness, then you put a name to it. So you put it in a category, which putting a name can be another blessing and a curse situation, because it makes things easier to express or relate to. And it's easier for you to communicate yourself having a name to it. But at the same time, it can carry a lot of connotations, be it positive or negative. And this reflexive calling might get in the way of what you are actually feeling. Here are some qualities that the sensations carry that you can feel in your body. And these are a lot, which are like expanding. Sensations or feelings can be contracting, heightening or uplifting, lowering or depressing. It can feel wet, dry, moving, stagnant, static, light, heavy. These are all different qualities. It can be cold, warm, dense, sparse. You can feel rough or soft or subtle or sharp. And you will all use these later on when you are trying to identify the qualities of your sensations. It can be tingling, sobbing, numbing, oily, wet, sweet, sour, all that stuff. These are all different ways that you can describe or define or elaborate what you are going to do within your body without calling it an emotion. Like you can say, I'm feeling happy, but also, or you can say, I'm feeling joyful. But then the truth behind it is maybe you are feeling a little warm, maybe you are feeling a bit light, maybe you are feeling a bit expansive. So taking the emotion out of it and just focusing on the sensation will give you a better idea of what the sensational brain does, or the sensational function of the brain is all about. And the next one is witnessing. Witnessing is the part where the integration of raw or unprocessed life happens, or life events happen. So you integrate whatever is going through. This is the part that one steps away from the limits of duality, like up in the executive part, and steps into unity. The quality of this stage is very spacious, and the selves dissolve here. So there's no more ego here when you are functioning from a point of witness. It dissolves into the entirety of the whole consciousness. This is the part that one can experience through awakening and liberation. It kind of sounds great, doesn't it? So today we will focus on how to increase the capacity to witness, which in turn will make the mind function at a more whole and integrated level. So the more you actually use your mind in one aspect, like the more you use your mind for thinking and comparing all up in the execution part, then you might go through a burnout. But the more you integrate all different aspects of the mind, then when you go back to thinking, you will have a way better sense and way better ease of thinking as well. So we are going to make sure that the mind is working as a whole. We can go to the next slide here. So the witness. What is this witness thing? It is the stage of being with something, as the word implies, witness, but not identifying with it. Like imagine a court setting and like a right witness. A witness is someone who sees what happens, but doesn't necessarily take part in the happening. Like you see it from a third perspective. So let's consider these questions for a short time here. Who are you? How are you? Do you remember? The next one is not a question, it's a statement. Imagine. Or how did you sleep? All these questions. Who is the answerer to these questions? How do you access or where do you access to get the answers for these? In a way, what we are witnessing does, or what witnessing does, is to create a separation between your thoughts, between your sensations, which can be raw or unprocessed experiences, from the ultimate self. The ultimate self, which is always whole, and this is an important part, which is always untouchable. So basically, witnessing and the witnessing self is the foundation of what is a safe space is. So how do you cultivate this awareness, or how do you cultivate this skill? How do you cultivate this ability? Well, there's different ways. You ask questions. You ask questions not from an executive part, but from an open part that you are also ready to receive answers to. And the main quality that you want to have is curiosity. All these questions, where's, what's, ifs, and then also taking a step back, taking and having a third point of perspective, and really investigating this stuff. Are we clear so far? Any head shakes? Very nice. It is very easy to go through these things though. Like when you are in a good mood, it's very easy to reflect, observe, ask questions. And these are awesome ways to override the set pathways of your reflexive thinking and the assumptions that basically govern your life. It's easy to stay open when you are happy or in a good mood. So you can receive something novel and have a new experience. But same qualities that we have to cultivate. How are you going to cultivate it when the things are a little bit more rough? When the intentions and when the sensations are a little too intense and the situation may be a little bit too hard to handle, or when the mind is lacking clarity under the influence of some dark clouds, what do? Well, a joke is coming here, you basically let it rain. And rain as in rain, and also R.A.I.N, which is an acronym for these beautiful steps that you are going to use in the practice that we are going to follow up with. First, you recognize. Recognize what is truly happening. For this, you will use your executive function as well. You will use your thinking brain to understand what's going on. Second one, accept. The part that resists what is going on is always the ego. So rather than attaching to a something or avoiding a situation, you just allow it and you accept it as it is. As you accept, the phenomena will be free to move in its own way because you are not resisting it. And without resistance, this will create a great opportunity for you to be able to observe what is really going on. Like imagine a child. When the child knows that uh, he is being scrutinized, they are smart. They will sit tight and then wait for the right opportunity to misbehave. But when you allow them to be as they are, then immediately what's going to happen? They are going to do whatever they want. And then you will have the opportunity to see what they really want. And then after you allow them and accept them as it is, then the third part is to investigate. This is the fun part. What is really happening? And how, let's say, the sensation, the emotion, or as in our example, how the kid is behaving. So you can notice the qualities. And if you are talking about sensations, so you can notice the textures, the shapes, and the feeling that is present within the moment. And finally, this is the part because we all probably do all these steps, but the last step is the most important, which is to non-identify. This actually goes into a very subtle but very prominent fear that everybody experiences. Let's say when you are in an intense moment, let's say you are worried about something, the sensations might get so unbearable that you might start to think you are going to die because what you are feeling is so intense and you do not have any space for yourself apart from the sensation that you are currently experiencing intensely. So the non-identifying self or the non-identifying step is actually a lifesaver in sometimes. In a sense, this is going to make you understand that whatever is going on and whoever and whatever you actually are different things. And let's break this into four different steps, this time exampling anxiety. You are anxious. Let's say you are feeling tremendous amount of anxiety. And first is to recognize. And this recognition can be as simple as your stomach hurts. Some deep thinking. Let me jump through these and then jump to the recognize. So you recognize that your stomach hurts, and that's all it is. With some thinking, you understand that it's not what you eat. There are no physical causes. You didn't get punched in the stomach. So you can really cannot think of anything rationally or logically for your stomach to hurt. Let's even say you go to a doctor and says there's nothing wrong with your stomach, but it still hurts. Here comes your awareness. And you just understand and accept it. Take a moment to relax. And when you accept it, the statement changes a little bit. It's not my stomach hurts anymore. It's I'm anxious. You find yourself immersed in this feeling and you identify with it. You can't think of nothing but this. As scary as it might sound, here is a brave step maybe. You just allow yourself to be anxious. As knowing that you are is knowing what you are going through is far better than going through something that is from the unknown. In the long run, any hard certainty, any hard thing to grasp is way easier to handle than any ambiguity. So as you accept this feeling and allow it to behave in a way that it likes to behave, then you will have a greater chance to investigate what's going on. Okay, you said I am anxious. From my stomach hurts to the anxious, then time to investigate. Because you are allowing your anxiety to be present in any way and any form that it likes to be. As you're investigating, you notice how you feel. Cramping stomach, increased heart rate or palpitations, a sense of contraction maybe or suffocation, I don't know, rushing mind or unstable brain, so on and so forth. We all go through this. These can feel intense, but these are priceless pieces of information, aren't they? And when you have these pieces of informations, then you can handle the situation way better because now you know. Eventually, bring in mind that you are just experiencing, and just like any other experience, these are impermanent and these cannot touch you permanently because the part that is you is something impermanent and something whole and something out of peace. And then these impermanent pieces of experiences are coming and going. So rather than being in those, you go to the part that you are whole, and you do this by the last step, which is the non-identification. So in non-identification, notice how the statement changes from I am anxious to I feel the presence of anxiety in such and such ways, maybe. Does it ring any bells? So here there is a clear separation between I am anxious, which is the identified self, like my entire being is anxiety, to I feel the symptoms of anxiety in such and such way. So you can use all this data to even help yourself improve the situation rather than being drowned in the feeling or rather than being drowned in the unknown. Does this any of this make sense, guys? You are always whole. You are a full human being. You are carrying the entirety of the consciousness within you. And you are just having a human experience here. And this experience includes both ends of the spectrum. Like nobody wants to stick with one color. You don't always want to be purple, or you don't always want to be green or yellow. Light breaks into a full spectrum of color, just like you as a human are breaking into a full spectrum of experiences, sometimes happy, but sometimes anxious, maybe sometimes sad. And then the second you stop identifying with these, then they become a feedback for you to guide your life in your inner wisdom. And in order for us to do this, we need a toolbox. We need some means of generating a practice for ourselves. And here my goal is to, of course, over the course of these webinars, is to equip you with enough tools so you can make sense of your own life and how to act with self-guidance and the inner wisdom. But I have to mention you that you should not be burdened by all the practices that we will cover eventually. The goal is to use the practices to ease your life. And I will be presenting you with many options in the hopes that you will figure out what works out for you. Some people strive to get the techniques right, but maybe striving is not really the answer here. You should know what works for you, and the technique also has to work for you as well. So when applying these techniques, don't be too careful. Don't try to get it right. Just do it in a way that works for you. Don't be too careful. Is that a nice point for you? Okay, very nice. Let me get a quote here. This is from the Yoga Sutras 132. If one can select an appropriate means to steady mind, you don't have to know 5,000 different practices. Just one thing that works for you, and practice it no matter what the provocations are. The interruptions cannot take root. See, it doesn't say that you will not go through interruptions, but whatever is going on, you will understand, and then you will try to learn how to override it. So are you guys ready to do some practice? Because this is all talk, and talk is only so far. We can get to the practice and see what's actually going on. Yeah. So before we do the practice, maybe I'll give you guys some 30 seconds or 1 minute, so you can retrieve the information that you just heard. This is a great, and you can just write it in the toolbox, in the chat box. Just 1 point or 2 points that stick with you. Just write it to everybody so other people can also read it. Whatever stuck, just 1 or 2 points. Write it down, and it will be easier for you to retain the knowledge and the information for your later use. No pressure here. And then the practice that we are going to do here is about 15 minutes. Get yourself comfortable, what I should say. Acknowledge the observer, which is always whole and separate from what's going on. I think that's also a great point because once you are in the sensation, you might forget the wholeness that you actually are. You are all carrying a universe inside of you. All right, we can proceed here. So just settle down and take a moment. You can sit back and relax and close your eyes. Take a moment to really settle in and settle down. Allow your awareness to be right here and right now. And allow the curiosity, the sensation of curiosity to rise within you. Notice how it feels just to be curious. Curious about the sensations in the body. Let's become curious about the breath. Notice how the breath moves within the body, in and out. Becoming aware of the lungs. Notice the front of the lungs. Notice the back of the lungs. Notice the sides of the lungs. Take a moment to notice the back of the lungs again, and between the back and the foot, notice the middle of the lungs. Just feeling any sensations or the absence of sensations. Now allow your awareness to travel through the body. Notice where is the most prevalent sensations that you receive from. Just receiving, just noticing. Start with the eardrums. Notice how my sound is traveling from your speakers to your eardrums. Basic, simple vibrations turn into electrical signals within the ear canal and being transmitted all the way up to your brain so you can make sense of what I say or what you hear. Notice your nose, noticing any smells. Notice the tongue and the taste buds and the remnants of taste that is presently available for you to feel. And start to notice the sense of touch. Noticing the air molecules that is in touch with your bare skin. Noticing the head and the scalp, the face, the neck and the throat, your shoulders, arms, and the hands. Now notice your torso and the clothing against the torso, the front and the back and the sides. Feel the length of your entire spine. If you are leaning against a chair or a wall, notice the contact between your spine and the back. If not, notice how you are keeping your spine erect with the muscles. Now notice the contact between your hips and the chair or hips and the floor. Noticing your thighs, noticing the legs. Notice the knees and the lower legs and the shin bones and the feet. Notice the air on your feet, or if you are wearing socks, notice the fit of your socks at your toes, at the soles of the feet, the arches of the feet. Noticing the heels and the ankles. Now bring your awareness back to your breath. Just staying curious, breathing in and out, not changing it, not doing anything with it, just noticing. And start to notice the different qualities of the sensations that you might be feeling right now. the location of sensations within the body. Just any sensation. Do they have a shape? Do they have a color? Do they have a texture? Or can you relate any temperature to them? If they do have a shape, does the shape change or does it stay in one form? Does it have an edge or does this sensation have a border? If you have, let's say, two different sensations that is present, do these sensations interact with each other? Where does one end? Where does the other begin? And what is the space in between them? Now take a moment to allow your awareness to scan through your entire body. Just scanning, staying curious, and staying aware. Now, a sensation of your choosing, allow your sensations or allow your focus to develop on a specific sensation that you like. Choose one and start to focus. And allow it to stay in focus. And we will simply apply our R.A.I.N technique. First, recognize. See how this sensation that you chose currently presenting itself. And allow it and accept it however it is, whatever it is. Is it expanding, contracting, still? And as you accept, start to investigate it. Go inside of the sensation. Go around the sensation. Feel the edges, the shapes, the borders, any distinct qualities that might be present with it. And now it's time to non-identify. Notice the separation between the felt sense and the part of you that is observing, that is witnessing this felt sense. The part that is always whole, the part that is watching and observing, the part that's not attached. Now notice how this shifts your experience. Notice the state of the body that you are in, the state of the mind that you have. Just applying 4 steps and then noticing the shift. Now allow your consciousness to stay in this part that is doing the observation. Stay here for a while. Keep observing your breath and the sensations that is present along with your breath. Now slowly bring your awareness to expand from your breath to all different parts of your body. Start to relax your shoulders, relax your spine, relax your legs. And coming back slowly, become aware of your fingertips, become aware of your toe tips. Body a little bit more relaxed, mind a little bit more aware. When and if you feel ready, open your eyes back to this present moment. Welcome back, everybody. So, let's do a quick overview of the next week and what's coming up. and then I will be able to take any of your questions. Settle in and take notice of this present moment. See and take a internal inventory maybe as to how it started and how you are here right now. And just looking ahead for the next coming week, like with a telescope, or like you just observed whatever is going on within your body. We are going to do a little bit more detail work with the sensations and how to use these sensations as a guide, how to use them is to lead your life, and how to learn from them because they are nothing but messengers. The main theme of next week will be non-judgment. So this is the next step of taking the way you think about things and feeling and seeing them as they actually are. And our practice will be relating to observing our reactions. This is what's coming up next week. Are you guys excited about it? Very nice. And I have a little homework for you actually, because I can talk so much and you can embark on so much information, but information is just a burden without integration. So use the R.A.I.N method for at least 3 times during the week. Sit down, and I do advise you to do this. You can do it like a normal practice, but you can also do this as a really tool that when you need it. So if you feel frustrated, if you feel agitated, if you feel sad or anxious or anything, like use it at a time that it is most relevant to you, and then just recognize it, accept it, investigate it, and not identify with it. And after you just maybe reflect on it for 5 minutes. You can do this reflection maybe taking a video of yourself. You can do this reflection in a way maybe just journaling about it. Just write down or videotape yourself. And after you do this, just read over it. You are by doing this and you are acknowledging what you are going through. So it's not something that you have to get rid of, but to acknowledge and own it. But as you own it, it's going to be something that is going to lead and inform your further actions. And if you want to become a part of the community, I actually created a Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/you as the medicine. So I would really like you guys, if you feel comfortable, just show up in the group and then go on live and just pour your heart out. So you can do your reflections on the Facebook group live, which will encourage other people to, listen to your own reflections and then encourage them to dive into their own experience. How does that sound?